So the cuboid that we use to represent the tile is not going to work for us because it creates its length equidistant from the center point. And so we want a flat surface on the top. We need another tool to make our cuboid or our box shape for us. And that's a little bit more complicated, and I'll demonstrate how. We're going to have to first I'll turn off the cuboids because we're not going to be using them. And every point that we have here is a place that we're going to end up making a rectangle. And then we're going to take that rectangle and thicken it in the direction that we want. So bear with me a little bit. We're going to have to first search for this idea of an origin point to create a coordinate system. And that's how we're going to be able to create rectangles around it. And we're going to use very carefully, I want to select the one that allows us to import a point and output a input a point and output a coordinate system. So I'm going to select that, or I'll try to do that again. Let me go back up here. Origin being, and this is it in the coordinate system of the library. So abstract coordinate system, and by origin, I'll select that. And we're going to now take each one of those coordinate points, which is way back over here, the point coordinates, and I'll drag it way over to the origin. And you'll notice that we get on the screen, let me just zoom in here a little bit, we get these little axes. And this is the coordinate system for each one of those points. Now we're going to be able to draw rectangles around them. I'll turn off a few things so that we don't get the screen looking a little bit too confusing. Let's get rid of the curve lengths. We no longer need those. Once again, I have my little hand problem. I'm going to turn the preview off for that. The curve, oops, not the curve length, but the curve or the line itself. Turn that preview off. And let's now make rectangles around these origins. So I'm going to go and look for a rectangle. And I want to pick a rectangle that has a width and length and a coordinate system input. I'm going to select that. And we're going to now connect that coordinate system together. And now we have a bunch of rectangles, actually very similar to the cuboids, except they have no thickness to them. And they have a width and a length. And the right now is set for default. That's why they're at 1. So that's why they look similar to what we had before. Now, what we want to do is, in order to make these things a tile, we want to thicken these. And we have a tool for thickening, taking the rectangle and extruding it out. But first we have to make it into a solid. Right now it's just defined as a line. So I'm going to just give you some commands that just help us get through these kind of transfers. Once again, we're just learning how to experiment with this software, so I don't expect you to be able to call up these commands at will. This is kind of a structured way of walking through one process to give you some familiarity with the power of the tool. So please don't become over-intimidated with what we're doing here. So in order to make those solids, we have a tool called Surface by Patch. So if I type in patch, this command will come up, surface by patch. If I plug that rectangle in and it's a closed curve, you'll notice how these have all turned solid. And now in order to get them into a cube, we just need to thicken them. So I'm going to type in thicken. Let's see if that'll take us thicken. By surface, thickness, and then the third one, which is really critical, is both sides. So I went down to thicken, thickness, and then both sides. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to go ahead and plug that surface in. It's got a default thickness, and you'll notice that it's going up and down right now. Let me just zoom in here to show you that. All right, so if we take a careful look at this, we see our coordinate system is in the middle of this sandwich, so to speak, of our plane. And we really want to get it to go to one side or the other. And so the way we're going to do that is change this Boolean logic that's here. So I'm going to right click on this and type in Boolean. Boolean means true and false. This one comes up as a default false. We don't want it to be both sides. So let me just correct my little glitch here. I don't have any idea why that happens on my software. I'm going to put that into both sides, and you'll notice now how it only comes up That's because that's the positive direction. Now, in order to get back to something that looked like where we were, remember we had the cuboids by length. We were importing that code block, which was that length of the line minus the 19 feet to leave us at least 1 foot in that ceiling height issue. So I'm going to take that and plug that in, whoops, to the thickness. It's still going up, but now it's doing what we want. And the only thing we want to do is make it go down. And so we're going to just make an adjustment to the math. I'm going to type in negative and put this whole contents in a parentheses and hit return, or actually just hit out of it. And now they're going down like we want them to. So now we have control over the length of those tiles. We'll go ahead and do a little bit of cleaning up now. We do no longer need the cuboids by length, so I'll go ahead and delete those. And we could pull our definition back a little bit tighter so that it'll be more legible for us. This is not critical, but it's just about kind of just keeping a neat workman's-like space, helping to stay organized. And there we have it. So next we'll look at making some modifications to what we've created.